Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. We'll have a look at the weather warnings, as we do have a thunderstorm warning issued at the moment for parts of Northern Ireland and southern Scotland, as we're seeing thunderstorm outbreaks this afternoon that will continue through the evening. We'll have a look at the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature, as it is looking fairly warm to start early May. Again, nothing too ridiculous, but generally mid to high teens, perhaps touching on 20 degrees in a few spots. And we should have a number of drier days this week. There will still be showers around, perhaps tomorrow in the east through the morning and early afternoon, and perhaps later in the week with some rain spreading up from the south, as we do see a bit more of a southerly flow, where we'd expect temperatures to be really quite pleasant. But unfortunately, it's looking like we're going to see some trapped cloud and some rain underneath that. And that's why those temperatures are not going to reflect the upper air mass. And we were looking at it yesterday and a bit unsure why the models were showing 16, 17 degrees when the upper air temperatures would be reflective of 25. And it's because we are now going to probably be seeing quite thick cloud and some rain around in places. So it probably will feel fairly warm later this week or this upcoming week, but it probably will not be all too pleasant out there in terms of any sunshine. We'll have a look at the longer range as well, look at the GFS, GM, eSIMWF and the ensembles as we do head into early May. Of course, we've got the coronation weekend coming up next weekend, so hopefully we do see something quite nice for that. At the moment, it's looking a mixed bag, potentially warm, but there is the risk of low pressure sliding under the higher pressure, which is a typical recipe for heavy showers and thunderstorms. We'll have a look at that in detail in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. I do hope everyone is having a great bank holiday weekend. Of course, we've got another bank holiday tomorrow, so another day off for many areas, and it does look likely tomorrow will be an even better day more widely. Now, at the moment, many areas of the south and the east, apart from where we've got a few of these lingering showers, is really quite warm and pretty pleasant out there, especially through the morning where we had lighter cloud, but that cloud is starting to thicken up, especially in the London area where I am. It's been a very beautiful morning and early afternoon to around 1 or 2 p.m. where it did start to cloud over, and of course we could see a few spots of rain, but again, nothing too heavy at this point. I do think the best areas really are out in eastern England, East Anglia, and the far southeast at the moment, but really anywhere through England and Wales, avoiding these showers and thicker cloud. It's fairly pleasant out there. However, further northwards and westwards, not so much. As I said, over the past few days, there's a risk of heavy thundery showers through this weekend, and it was just about really pinpointing exactly where they were going to occur. And as I said, in the north and the west was the most likely point, and that's what we're seeing today through Northern Ireland, heading into parts of southern Scotland too. We're seeing some really heavy thunderstorms breaking out. Again, they're not huge multi-celled systems. They are generally pop-up storms, but they are relatively small, impacting maybe a town or so before moving through quite quickly. But regardless, can cause quite big impacts and can be really quite horrible out there if you are trying to have an enjoyable bank holiday weekend. So not too pleasant in these regions, but that's the sort of caveats we do get whenever we do get a slightly warmer, more muggy, humid feel out there. There is always the risk with a bit of instability, some more thunderstorms. Of course, it's within an associated area of instability because we've got a lot of lighter showers further northwards and eastwards than this, and through parts of England and Wales as well. And as I said, those should spread through this evening, and tomorrow should be a much brighter day, still fairly warm. Could, as I said, be a risk of showers in the afternoon that we'll see in the UKV in a minute. But as we head through Tuesday and Wednesday, it's looking likely to be even drier. Perhaps not quite as sunny as warm, but a lot drier more widely. Now, if I do put on the temperatures as of around 4 p.m. as I'm recording this, again, you can see fairly pleasant out there. You can see oranges in the east, where we don't have that thick cloud, and a bit of rain further westwards, where the temperatures are more towards the low to mid-teens. Here to the east, it's more mid to higher teens, or if not touching 20 degrees in a few spots. Wouldn't be surprised if later we see somewhere near Cambridge, Norwich, or London reaching that 19 or 20 degree mark. Similar across parts of southern Ireland, where we've got a bit more sunshine, but as I said, wherever we've got some thicker cloud and those showers occurring, it will always hold those temperatures down, probably more towards 13 or 14 degrees. But again, nothing ridiculously cold compared to what we have had over the past couple of weeks, but still not as pleasant as you'd hoped from this sort of air mass and this sort of setup, with those warmer, dry conditions really being exclusive to the Far East at the moment, and generally further southwards through today. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we do have a yellow thunderstorm warning issued for Northern Ireland, pretty much all of Northern Ireland here, into parts of southern Scotland. Again, heavy thunderstorms, heavy showers and thunderstorms may cause some disruption and flooding. Again, high likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix, as you can see here. While some places will see little rainfall, 30 to 35 millimetres in 2 to 3 hours, perhaps likely over northern and eastern parts of Northern Ireland. And on the live radar you saw there, that's what we saw with that. Again, it's quite a snap warning. Was only issued this morning, so a pretty short notice, but that is pretty typical of thunderstorms, where they can be very hit and miss, and models can upgrade things very substantially at very short notice. So yeah, thunderstorm warning issued for the rest of the evening. So if you are in these regions and you have got any plans for the rest of the evening, do keep an eye on the radar, especially through southern Scotland, where it's not the greatest risk. But at the moment, not seeing anything too heavy, but it could still spark up through the rest of the evening. So if you now go to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, now I can see through this afternoon those heavy thundery showers breaking out in that warning zone, and elsewhere thicker cloud and those patchy showers developing. However, through the rest of this evening, it should all start to clear away out into the North Sea, and things should start to get a lot better. And you can see around midnight, those showers mostly out into the North Sea now, and through tomorrow afternoon, you can see there are a few showers around lunchtime, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. maybe. A few of them could be thundery, but they are very small, very isolated, so really pop-up showers in instability. But for most, around 3, 4 p.m, it will be fairly sunny. Could still be a bit of a cloud around, but things should turn quite a bit brighter and quite a bit drier. So it could be quite a pleasant day, especially in those areas further northwards, westwards that have lost out really today and a bit yesterday with those showers. As we do progress through Monday night into Tuesday, we do see through Tuesday afternoon things will be fairly pleasant, fairly dry. If you look at that, a lot of cloud around in few spots, but generally it will have sunnier spells, and it will be a fairly pleasant day. Again, temperatures won't be ridiculously warm, mid to high teens widely, but when you have sunshine breaking through, there's not much better than that, really. I think most people agree, sort of mid to high teens with some strong sunshine, sort of the perfect temperature to be out there in daytime. Now, beyond that, into Wednesday, it will continue on that trend. As we head into Wednesday afternoon, you'll be able to see things are, again, fairly bright. A bit more cloud in the north and west. Again, that could hold the temperatures down, but it'll still be fairly dry, apart from a few specks of showers through Scotland there. As we head into Thursday, could start to see more rain introduced from the south. So this is where we're talking about that warm air mass wafting up later this upcoming week, but associated with thick cloud and rain, unfortunately. So Thursday afternoon, the upper temperatures are around 10 degrees at Angel the HPA. You'd expect 20 to 25 degrees with that sort of air mass, but we probably won't be seeing that because of the thicker cloud and rain, unfortunately. You can see that from the upper air temperatures. You can see through sort of Wednesday to Thursday, look at that, 8 to 10 degrees at 850 HPA. But we won't really be seeing that reflected because of that cloud and rain, and eventually the air mass will sort of disintegrate away as it does spread northwards, colliding with this much colder air mass that is sitting to our north. Now, if you look at the max temperatures over the course of the next 5 days, you can see through this afternoon, best conditions really through the east around that sort of 2 or 3 p.m. point. Again, widely 17 or 18 degrees, and could be a little bit higher in other areas, but 13, 14 degrees further westwards, where it's not as pleasant. If we do move now into Monday, again, you'll see the temperatures are fairly pleasant, especially through southern areas where we have less cloud and warmer air mass, around 16 to 18 degrees once again, but could peak at around 19 or 20. Further northwards and eastwards, with a bit of wind dragging off the North Sea, a bit of a cold air mass, may still be chilly around the high single digits or low teens. As we head into Tuesday, could be a bit of frost in those northern areas where we have that colder air mass, but for many areas into Tuesday afternoon, it'll be fairly pleasant. Not quite as warm, simply because that air mass is cooler and there is thicker cloud around, but still many areas in that mid to high teen spot. So really back down to average for most areas around that 14, so 13, 14, 15 degree point. Into Wednesday now, again, it'd probably be pretty similar, again, mid-teens, pretty average for the time of year, but of course, seeing some sunshine and being drier, it'd probably still feel fairly warm. As we head into Thursday now, we'd expect it to be fairly warm in the afternoon. You can see it still gets to around 17 or 18 degrees, but with that thicker cloud and rain, really holds those temperatures down, perhaps into the low teens there, or even high single digits over some of the higher ground in the southwest. Really all not too great. Yeah, it just shows you the effects of cloud and rain this time of year can really give sloppy and horrible conditions out there. Hopefully we see this downgrade a bit. We see a bit more sunshine and dry weather with this, as it could be a really nice day on Thursday with that air mass. But if we do see the cloud and rain that's forecast at the moment, it'll be isolated 17 or 18 degrees through central England, nothing more, nothing less. So we do now have a look at the longer range to see if there is any more sustained sort of drier, warmer weather, not really clutching at straws on some precipitation, cloud disappearing, which is what we need to do if we're going to see anything better on Thursday. Now, as you can see at the moment, we've got a bit of a trough heading into the west, and that's bringing in the showers and thunderstorms under a general area of high pressure. But the high pressure strengthens through this week, and again, the air mass underneath, it's around average for the time of year, if not slightly below average, perhaps through Tuesday and Wednesday. That's why it could be slightly cooler in the north, maybe a frost in a few spots, but overall, back towards average. But we do drag up that very warm air mass for Thursday, but because low pressure is sliding in, it gives rain with that, and again, hold the temperatures down. Beyond that, we see quite a similar pattern with southeasterly winds coming in off the near continent. You expect to be fairly warm, but the high pressure isn't quite strong enough to hold weather fronts and low pressure systems at bay. So low pressure systems slide into that high pressure and sit perhaps over central Europe, giving very heavy showers and thunderstorms and areas of rain there. But they're coming from the Atlantics. They slide through the UK and could give some very unsettled conditions at times. Again, you wouldn't expect absolute deluges. They're not huge Atlantic low pressure systems. They are losing their strength. They're coming up against the high pressure, but they're strong enough still to give heavy rain, thick cloud, and the instability for showers and thunderstorms when warmer air masses do get mixed in. And that's this typical pattern here. Look at the upper air temperatures trying to drag up some warm air from the southeast there. And you can see it quite specifically later this week, but low pressure running underneath it and giving those heavy thundery shower outbreaks. And you can see that from the precipitation here, all that rain in the far south as that weather front slides under that higher pressure, where it is dry through northern and northwestern Europe, apart from the south of England. So it could be quite horrible in a few places if this exact pattern came off for next weekend through the coronation weekend. But we will have to see very subtle shifts, could shift all that rain and instability away and keep us a lot warmer and drier. If you look at the GEM now, see how that does compare. Again, high pressure building in at the moment. Again, we see that southeasterly wind, but low pressure sliding underneath it for the bank holiday weekend. So it could be a very showery and thundery outlook there, all the way as we head to day 10, where high pressure does look to be in relative control, but not absolutely dominating. Still low pressure sliding in at times. You can see this all the way into next weekend there. Relatively warm air masses around average or slightly above average for the time of year, but low pressure sliding in, giving that risk of heavy showers and thunderstorms. And again, if we have a look at the ECMWF, very similar high pressure building in over the coming days. That southeasterly wind, but low pressure sliding underneath it with an easterly flow in the extended range. And eventually low pressure just kind of sits over the top of us, a bit of a cut-off low system, and starting to drag cooler air in from the west. So it could transfer from being quite a warm, thundery feel to eventually, when these low pressures properly break through, to more of a cooler, showery, horrible sort of feel there. So not a hugely positive signal as we do head into early May, but not hugely negative either. There still is a lot of high pressure around. It could dominate more than the models are anticipating, especially at that day 7 to day 10 point. So I wouldn't look at this in too much detail at this stage, but the models are definitely sort of trending and more concentrating on a sort of pattern that would be fairly showery and sort of be on and off in terms of being nice. One day here or there could be nice, 17, 18 degrees with sunshine. The next day could be 12 or 13 with heavy showers spiralling in. So nothing too sustained at this stage, and we'll just have to see. If we see that on the ensembles, you can see it pretty well reflected. Again, over the next week or so, the upper air temperatures are generally around average or above average. We see that briefly cooler air mass around Wednesday time, and that's going to give those temperatures more towards average in many areas, and perhaps a frost in the far north. You see the very warm air mass that moves in later this week, about 5 or 5+ degrees above average. But again, associated with more rain and clouds, so it won't give all too great temperatures at the surface. And beyond that, temperatures are generally around average. Maybe slightly above initially and slightly below further out, but overall around average, but the precipitation is fairly high. So again, it supports that idea of low pressure running in off the Atlantic into a warmer air mass, cooling it down, but introducing instability and some heavy thundery showers and perhaps even frontal systems if weather front stays intact and the low pressure system keeps its intensity, which the models weren't keen on, but is still a possibility as we head into the longer range. If you look at the 2 meter temperatures, again, you can see this well defined, get generally around the mid-teens is what we're expecting. So we get around average, maybe slightly above at times, slightly below. And again, look at the mean sea level pressure dropping in the longer terms. Again, perhaps low pressure signal, but importantly, no huge deep low pressure systems. No, really only a few going below 1,000 millibars. So they are fairly weak low pressure systems, areas of instability, upper troughs. You wouldn't expect anything too ridiculous with this, but heavy showers and thunderstorms can come even under higher pressure. So a bit of instability out there, perhaps a bit of a southeasterly wind, bring some humid air up from the Mediterranean. Could be that could be the recipe over the coming days and coming weeks. If you look at the ECMWF just to finish, again, very similar, same pattern over the next week or so, and then as we head into the longer range, pretty high precipitation, and you can see how spikes are appearing in sort of recurring intervals, and those are afternoons, those sort of the midday or 6 p.m. timings, showing you that a lot of the ensemble members have showers appearing in the afternoon, rain appearing in the afternoon. So a traditional, kind of like a monsoon sort of pattern where we've got where those showers occur in the afternoon, when the sun really builds that convection going. So that's what we could be seeing as we do head into the longer range. We will have to see, of course. At the moment, it is quite an uncertain pattern, but not looking great if you want something warm and dry. Just that's it. There will be warmer and dry days in there, like we're having at the moment in places, and perhaps even into tomorrow too. But there's always going to be the risk of showers and thunderstorms around with this sort of pattern. So we're going to have to see what happens. But the sort of uncertain spring that we've had so far, where nothing too sustained has held on for too long, or nothing too warm and dry has held on for too long, is going to continue, unfortunately. Hopefully we do see something more sustained and a lot better. The first proper warm spell of the year, so sort of defined warm spell of the year, good 3 or 4 days of 20 to 25 degrees or warmer. Hopefully we see something like that in the near future. But at the moment, we're not seeing any big major signal of that on the ensembles or the operational runs. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. I hope you have a great rest of your bank holiday weekend, and I'll see you again for another video soon.